Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you doing this with me. I know you're super, super busy all the time. So,
Yeah, 100%. You're my
um,
guy. Whatever I could do.
so just for anybody that doesn't know you, can you just kind of introduce yourself, what you do?
Sure. My name is Bryan Karp. I am Long Island sales giant. I am a real estate agent and broker in Long Island, New York.
Awesome. Was real estate something that you always wanted to do?
I kind of give you my first comic book, right? And you might have heard it before because me and you know each other personally, but just so the audience kind of understands, I grew up in Belmore, so Nassau County, right? So when you guys look at Long Island, Long Island's like a candy bar, and Nassau County is the front half of Long Island, probably about 35 minutes outside of Manhattan. And I was never the school kid, right? Wasn't a bad kid in school, but literally had zero interest in school. I was the kid who would sit in science class. My knees would be racing up and down. And I would stare at the classroom door. And literally, right above the door, there was this clock, right? And that clock was frozen. And that 45-minute science class felt like 4 hours long.
Mhm.
And today, I wake up at 4 a.m., I go to bed at 10 o'clock, and the day's gone in a snap. So it's so funny when you find your passion, you find your addiction, you find your oxygen, time doesn't even exist. So back in high school, I was always very coachable. So my father, his name was Harvey, but we called him Steve, right? He was a construction worker. So he had these big meat hooks for hands. So he sits me down one day, grabs my hand, and he's like, Bry, school's not for everybody. He said, learn a trade. You'll always be able to feed your family. Now, my mother was an educator, right? So my senior year in high school, my game plan was to graduate high school and go out into the trades. My dad convinced me to go to a BOCES, right? So that was the plan, right? Go out, start hustling, get into the union, right? 9 to 5 or 7 to 3. And that was, my golden ticket, retirement, 65 years old, I'm out, right? And it turned out my senior year in high school, I got offered a full scholarship to play football in college. So now I'm at the crossroads, right? I got mom on this shoulder, Bryan, free school. Dad's on this shoulder with overalls on, like, get out there, start hustling. And I'm like, this, what do I do? And, I thought about it and I prayed on it for a few days. And I woke up one morning and it came to me. Every night I went to bed dreaming about football. And every morning I woke up and the first thing in my head was football. So I was like, all right, this is it. This is what I got to do in my life. And I ended up getting a full scholarship to play football at Stony Brook University and have my jersey behind me because you guys are in my home office. And I had a great career. Graduated as a two-time All-American. Senior year, had my second knee surgery and realized I wasn't going to the NFL. So now it's 2005, top of the real estate market, right? Economy is racing, couldn't get a job anywhere. And I'm like, this, what do I do in my life? My dad has already turned my bedroom into a billiards parlor, right? So there was no going back home. And a buddy of mine on the football team, he gave me this book that changed my life forever, right? And the book was called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And the
Everybody
book's
keeps
by
telling me to read that, and I'm like, I gotta go read that just to read it.
Yeah, just to read it. Exactly. And, it doesn't exactly tell you what to do, but all the book really talks about is real estate, entrepreneurship, and
Right.
passive income. And after reading that, I'm not a smart person. I just felt like they wrote it for me. And I ran out in 2005 and I bought a two-family house. Right. So at that time, my beautiful wife today was just my girlfriend. So she's living upstairs. We rent out the entire downstairs for 2 grand. And my monthly mortgage payment, $1,900 a month. So I'm living there at 20 years old and I'm making $100 a month. And I'm like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do in my life. I'm going to buy rental houses. So your boy, right, the sales giant, literally just got into real estate 15 years ago for one reason, to be the inside player, right? And then I started the business as a part-time job. First year, 3 houses, friends and family, then 10, then 20, then 100. And then consistently now I do about 200 transactions a year. I'm the number one real estate agent in all of Long Island, New York. Last year, I did about $140 million worth of residential real estate. I'm a partner in a brokerage in Long Island, and that's my story in 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, it's crazy, and I mean, I know you, and you don't stop ever. I mean, you're always going. You're always. I mean, literally, while I was trying to fix my podcast because the audio wasn't working, you're making phone calls, and you just never stop, and it's so cool
I'm
to.
I'm just I'm just monetizing every second, right?
Yeah,
Everyone else is playing at this like this normal speed, and I'm just playing at a higher speed than
Yeah.
everybody else, right? You see people that are successful, they just walk faster, they talk faster,
Yep.
because my goals and my aspirations are bigger than what the average person's are. So if I'm just gonna, play at everyone else's level, I'm never gonna get to where I want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so just some couple personal questions just to see kind of like what you're thinking. What's something that you're really excited about right now, like a hobby or maybe like an investment, so some kind of opportunity? Like what in Brian Karp's world, what's going on? What are you interested in?
Yeah, so I'm always listen, I'm always striving for new things, and I'm really big into health and fitness, so I'm always trying to get myself into better shape. I feel like the body's like a chemistry set, so I always
Mhm.
enjoy that. And it's also something that you can control, right? And I'm a control freak, and I like to be, and I'm very disciplined, right? So being health and fitness is just something that's very disciplined, right? You eating right and you exercising literally just comes down to discipline,
Mhm.
right? There's for you to be in great shape, all you got to do is, do cardio, right?
Sure.
And work out a little bit, but that's discipline. And you eating the right things goes down to discipline, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing is the discipline that I take upon my personal finances. It's the same discipline that I put into my business. It's the
Mhm.
same discipline I put into my kids, right? So hobbies right now, big into health and fitness. Other things that we're, working on, I guess immediately is always, everybody is very flattering and very, like, wow, Bry, you sell 200 houses a year. That's amazing. That's great. But what they don't understand is what I did with the wealth that we were
Yeah.
blessed with, right? So my hobby and my passion is, rental real estate. So we are always acquiring new assets and renovating them and then adding them to the personal portfolio. So right now, I just picked up a three family in Smithtown, which is in Long Island, New York, maybe 20 minutes from where, I sold your guy's house. And it's a two family. So it's a duplex house and it's got a cottage on it. So the duplex
Wow.
house, we literally just gutted down to the studs. And now we're going to start to rebuild it. And it will probably take the next 3 to 4 months to rebuild it. But why that excites me is because basically I get to lay out, turn it into what I want, right? First floor, I'm gonna do a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Second floor is gonna be a 2 bedroom. And yes, it's gonna cost money, effort, and time to get it going. But as soon as I get it going and I get it rented, then immediately I'm gonna be receiving more passive income in. And that's really what my passion is, passive income.
Okay, that's awesome. Um, so I would imagine that a lot of that is super stressful, trying to deal with multiple projects, multiple deals. How do you kind of de-stress? I know that you said you're really into fitness, so is that something that you do to de-stress? Do you go on walks? Like, what do you do to kind of like slow down a little bit? I mean, it's probably hard for you, as it is hard for
Mhm.
me. But what do you do to kind of just take it down a level?
Yeah, so it would definitely be working out. That's
Yeah.
why I do it every day. It puts me in the right mindset. So, and I was never a cardio guy. I hated cardio my whole entire life, but now that's something that I religiously do 6 days a week just because it gets me in the right mindset and you know, the right thought pattern for the day. So that definitely de-stresses me. But what everyone has to understand about me is like, yes, this is my business and my job, but this stuff is my hobby,
Right.
right? Like what I play every day is just a sport this is a game. I'm just playing a big game, right?
Hmm.
Selling houses was a huge game for me. Building that business was a huge game. Now the rental portfolio, another huge game, right? And all of my other businesses and all of my other ventures, they're just games, right? And I'm a huge athlete who loves winning and achieving and bettering myself at things. So yes, it's all very stressful and it's all crazy and it's all real life, but it's just a big game that I'm playing.
Hmm. Um, when do you think that you get your best or the most work done? I feel like I know this answer from from posts and stuff, but
Yeah, it's definitely going to be in the morning,
yeah,
right? It's so the problem, not the problem, but what I see a lot of times, and I even see it in my own life, is that when the day hits, it's literally like I'm a firefighter putting out fires all day
yeah,
long, even if it's not business, personal, right? And now when I have multiple different businesses and ventures and stuff going, it's always craziness. So by me I didn't want to get up this morning at 4 o'clock,
yeah,
right? When the alarm clock went off, it was the last thing I wanted to do was get out of bed. But I knew me getting out of bed, me starting my day, me clearing my head, me organizing every single thing that needed to be accomplished and done today, down from list to list to lists, was going to set me up. So that 4 to 7 is gold, right? I
Mhm.
get more accomplished between 4 and 7 than people do all day long.
Yeah, no, that's true. I definitely find waking up in the morning is the best time. It's quiet. There's nothing going on. If you want to go someplace, it's quicker. Do you have like a routine that you do in the morning? Like, is there like a list that you kind of go down like every morning to do?
Yeah. So when I first wake up is getting my ass out of bed, right? That's the first thing. And it's basically, Monday through Friday is going to be 4 o'clock. If I'm doing some type of speaking engagement and I'm out really late, maybe I'll let myself sleep until 4:30 during the week. But it's getting out of bed, coming downstairs, and I have a fireplace in my house, a gas fireplace. So I press the button, I turn it on, because here in New York, it's mostly cold,
Oh yeah.
8 months out of the year. And then I turn the coffee pot on, I get the coffee going, and I sit there before I touch my cell phone, because as soon as I look at my cell phone, literally the world is going to try to dictate my mind pattern and dictate what I'm going to be thinking and doing and how I'm going to feel. So for the first half an hour, I drink a cup of coffee and I kind of just sit there and decompress. Like I'm huge into gratitude, and I know it sounds crazy, but one of the things that centers me and calms me down is just how effing like I'm so grateful for the life I have.
Mhm.
Right. But I was so grateful for it even before it was this incredible life. Right. I start off so small, right? I start off and just saying how grateful I am for two healthy young little boys, right?
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh my God, I have this amazing, business partner who's my wife, and she's gorgeous, right? I start there. And then I literally sit with the fireplace on. I'm like, oh my God, I effing live in a mansion, right? It's not a mansion, but it's a big house from where I grew up in. And I start out from there. And then I'm like, oh my God, my business, right? My rental portfolio, my mom is still here, right? Like, so I start with that and build out from that. And then, then it's probably about 4:30. I've already had 2 cups of coffee, and I head down into my office and I get through some emails, right? I get everything organized. I get all my staff organized for the day, because when you have multiple businesses, there's multiple things happening. I get all my staff organized for the day. And then probably around 5:30, 6 o'clock, I will in my basement, which is not like a basement. It's got 8 foot ceilings down here and big windows. But I have my home office there. On the other side of my basement, I have a little gym, and I'll jump on, do some cardio, do some light weights, and then around 7 o'clock, my kids get up, and I like to go upstairs and be with them for the first hour of the day.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, and I think the gratitude thing is huge. Like a lot of people just aren't complacent with where they're at, and I think it puts them in a bad mindset of they like have to do this, right? Because that's the only way that they're going to make life happen. And I think having like that unrealistic, not an unrealistic expectation, but that expectation sometimes will hurt you, right? Because if you're not happy with what you have, that means you're always going to be chasing more, and you're just never going to be happy. You know?
So yeah, so like there's a thing that I heard a few times, and I can't, as much as I like to claim it as mine, it's not. I stole it from a guy, but it really helped me. I was struggling in 2019, finished my best year in real estate, 200 best year to date, but now I've done over 265 homes. But that year was 205 houses, and it was like the last few weeks in the year, and I was just like, wow, like it doesn't feel that great. And then this guy that I was listening to, he came up with this phrase, and it really kind of like put everything in perspective. And it was, it basically, all it spoke about is how that you're so grateful, but you're also so like, I want more and more and more.
Mhm.
Right. So, it's, and that's really what it was. And it kind of made me feel like, okay, like it's all right if I want more, and I want better things, and I want
Yes.
to, because what makes me feel good about myself is bettering myself every day, right? And it's
Yep.
not just in finance and in business, it's being a better husband, being a better father, right? So when he said it and he kind of broke it down, it made sense, because finishing your best career ever in real estate, right? Super blessed, made more money than I could ever imagine, right? Set ourselves up, bought more houses that year. And when it was the end of the year, I look back, and I didn't feel good about it. It's because I'm someone who needs to always continue to move forward. And the line was blissfully dissatisfied, right? So what it was is blissfully, is bliss is living
Yep.
bliss, right? And then dissatisfied is like, hey, I'm not happy. And
Mm.
he put it together, and I was like, oh my God, like that totally makes sense. So it's called blissfully dissatisfied.
I like that. That is good. But I mean, so again, but you were content, right? With where you're
Well,
at in
content.
life.
No, I'm definitely not content. No, I'm blown away and like elated. But
Yeah.
no, content's not a word that is in my vocabulary. But what also helps me be grateful for things is, and we didn't even dive into this, and that I was a union construction worker for 9 years,
Mhm.
right? So I used to wake up at 4 a.m. and drive into Manhattan and work construction all day, and then come out and hustle real estate from 2 to 10 o'clock at night when my eyes bled, right? So for me, waking up, having a cup of coffee, walking down to my office and putting a suit and tie on, that's like I've already won,
Oh yeah.
right? So to me, like what helps is bringing myself back to where I came from. And I think if you haven't had to struggle and work yourself to where you are today, then you're not able to do that, right? Like you used to work a 9 to 5, right? You used to be a W-2 employee, so you know what it was to go in and work every day. So now that you get to wake up and do your trade and your business, it's like an effing blessing.
Mhm. Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, Unfortunately, I still work, but
Mhm.
I'll get
But
there
won't
one
that be
day.
that? Won't that be the goal one day, right? The goal one day will be able to just run your business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's any kind of entrepreneur, any kind of like business, and anybody that wants to do something other than working a 9 to 5. That's always your goal, right? So for
Mhm.
me, I hate corporate America. Corporate
Mhm.
America does not work for me. Like I hate the politics. I hate just the way everything is run. It's just nothing is run efficiently, right?
Yeah,
You
nothing
get
gets done.
nothing
Nothing
ever
gets
gets
done.
done, right? I worked two government jobs, and the current job that I'm in is basically a lot of government contracts, big companies. So for
Mhm.
me, you just walk around all day. Nothing
Mhm.
gets done. All the paperwork is just craziness, and I'm like, I could do everything that I do in a day in about 20 minutes at home.
Yeah.
Just so for me, I can't I can't function that way. It's too slow. I mean, even with you, even being in union construction, I bet that wasn't even a very high
It was
paced
because,
environment.
well, no, it wasn't because, and the guy's biggest thing was getting to coffee, getting to lunch, and
Yep.
getting to Friday,
Yep.
right? And to me, that was all good guys, right? I pretended to be one of them
Hmm.
because I needed that to be able to, jump to real estate full time,
Yep.
right? So, and you have to understand my mindset. There was a month when I made more money in real estate than I did all year in union construction, and I still stayed for 3 more years, right? So that's my
Wow.
discipline, right? Because I was afraid to leave the benefits and the golden handcuffs of the 6-figure salary as a union construction worker. So, but my goal the whole time, I took the union construction job just because I needed a steady paycheck,
Right.
right? And this is, when I graduated college, yeah, I got my real estate license, but society and my parents or my grandparents and were like, you need a job, right? You need benefits, you need a steady check. So I fell as one of the sheep, right? And I
Hmm.
went to be a union construction worker, and I literally had to break out of it, right? I used to walk around the construction site, and this is before we had cool earbuds like these. We used to have headphones, right? And I literally would. Everyone thought I was listening to Metallica and Guns N' Roses and Biggie Smalls, and literally I was listening to every self-help, self-development, and real estate and finance book I can get my hands on. And I literally, in those 9 years, I got a doctorate in finance, real estate, self-development. And one day, no one even knew it, right? They never knew what I was doing on the side. One day, I was doing 50, 70 homes a year as a part-time real estate agent, making more money in one month than I did all year in construction. And one day I just went in and I said, I'm leaving. Right. It was like Shawshank Redemption, if you ever saw it, where he comes in and one day he's wearing the shiny shoes and no one notices it. Right.
Hmm.
One day I just was like, guys, I got my emergency fund, I got my money, I got a little rental portfolio, I got a business, I'm out.
Yeah. So at what point did you make that switch, right? So for me, taking that jump into full blown, I'm going to run a business, that's all I'm going to do, versus having your W-2 job with your side hustle. Like, was there, what was your, was there like a number? Was there
No, there wasn't. I was just always going to continue to do both, right? Because the real estate was very lucrative. I was doing 50, 70 homes a year, making, great money. Plus I had my benefits and my, set salary. And even with the union thing, I was able, it was a 5 day a week job, but I was able to, because I was a great employee, which makes a great entrepreneur, I was able to convince my boss to let me work 4 days a week, right? And four
Yep.
days a week still got me full bennies and still got me, your union credits, right? You have to have a certain amount of
Yeah.
hours in, right? So it was perfect, right? And it just gave me an extra day to hustle real estate. So that my plan was to do it forever. And then my wife one day sits me down. She's like, "You're making like 5 times what you make in union construction in real estate. Like, why don't you just double down on real estate?" And literally, when I left union construction, within another year is when I went to 150 homes and then 200 homes and
Wow.
now 265 homes. So the business doubled, tripled, quadrupled because even though it was a part-time, just show up job, right? I was able to now have all my energy and passion to what my addiction is.
Yeah, I mean, you bought yourself time, right? You left there, so now you literally could double down on what you were
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think anyone who has a business that's relatively, starting to, and I know you could do it already, but even if your business is just making some money, if you get a little emergency fund together and give yourself like a 6 month runtime, there's no way that you can't totally crush what you're already doing if you have 100% of your focus and energy into it.
yeah, no, I completely agree because I mean, doing doing a full-time job and side hustles and stuff like that is not meant for everybody, and I
Mhm.
think that if you're able to do that, I think the amount of time and dedication and just discipline would kind of just prove to you that you would make it work no matter what, right? So I've always been that kind of person. Like I make it work no matter what. And my wife always said, like, I'm never afraid if you lost your job because I know you do whatever it takes to make sure all the bills are paid, that we have
Yeah.
money, and for me, going working at McDonald's isn't above me, right? So like if I lost my job tomorrow, didn't have money, I go work at McDonald's. I know I could get a
A hundred
job,
percent,
right?
100%. There's nothing I wouldn't do. I'll clean toilets. I'll
Yep.
knock doors, right? To convince you to let me rake your leaves or
Yep.
clean out your gutters, right? So that I think that's the biggest thing, and I realized as a young person, because I have a learning disability, I don't know if you know, but I'm dyslexic,
Mhm.
right? So I today only read on a fourth or fifth grade reading level. And, you know, I realized as a young man that I wasn't going to be a doctor, I wasn't going to be a lawyer, I wasn't going to be an engineer, right? So if I wanted to have this crazy epic life that I only dreamed on, right? Only me and my mother really thought it was possible, it was going to have to be in sales, right?
Right.
And that was the only way I was going to live this life. So to me, I'm not above anything. I'm not above, door knocking, cold calling. That's how I built my whole business, my whole life.
Mhm.
So to me, I'm never worried about that either. Because if real estate dies tomorrow, right, I still got my backpack in the garage if I had to go back to union construction,
Mhm.
literally still sitting there over a decade later with my tools in it
Wow.
and my hard hat, right, on a carabiner connected to it. So I'm not too good to go back to that. I still pay my dues, right? Because I'm not too good to go back to that. And I'm
Wow.
not afraid if I got to knock doors and starts, mowing lawns and cleaning gutters and washing toilets. I'm not above any of that.
Yeah. Were you like that as a kid? Were you like the hustler kid? Were you always trying to make a buck?
Yeah, always trying to make a buck. I was obsessed with money since I was a young kid. Even before I realized the power of money, I would just look at it like so obsessed with it. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a young kid, my friends would all go play stickball. Right, the big thing was stickball, and we would all meet at like friendlies if they even still have them anymore. We'd all meet at friendlies for breakfast when we were in sixth or seventh grade. After breakfast, they would all go to the schoolyard to play stickball, and I would literally go door knocking and try to convince people to let me rake their leaves and clean out their gutters. And once I got the job, I would then have my friends do it for half the price.
Mhm.
Right. So even before the word entrepreneur existed, that's what I was doing. I'm just a hustler. Right.
Yep.
Today, I'm a legitimate hustler or a legitimate gangster with a suit and tie on. But as a young man, that was just me. Right. I was wheeling and dealing. Now I'm legitimately wheeling and dealing.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, as I actually remember when it clicked in my head. I was like 13 years old and we were at Toys R Us, which doesn't even exist anymore, which is crazy to even
Mm-hmm.
think of.
Yeah.
um, and I wanted a toy and I was like, or whatever it was. I was like, "Can I want this." Mom was like, "No, you can't have it. No, no, no." So I'm like, "Come on, I just want it. I want it. I want it. What's the big deal? You get me stuff all the time." And literally, she was just like, "When you have a job and you have money, you could buy whatever you want, and you could do whatever you want with that money." And I was just like, "Wait, so I could get a job and I could do whatever I want?" And
Hmm.
literally, I think it was either that year or the next year, I started landscaping. As a
Yeah.
14-year-old kid, I was out landscaping with, all the big guys with backpack
Yeah.
blowers, and first paycheck came and I bought myself a computer.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna build a computer. So I started buying stuff to build a computer, and that was it. Once I realized the power in like actually working,
Yes,
and
you
then
said it once you see the power in money, but then what changed everything I thought about is once I realized the power in when you spend money and you spend it on real estate, the power of it paying you, right? Like
oh
people
yeah,
all the time, like, Bry, do you invest in crypto? Do you invest in the stock market? And I think crypto is gambling. And B, the stock market, there's no deals, right? All the brokers and the inside players are going to get a deal.
yep,
Why I effing am obsessed with real estate is because the power of making money, and then I take that money and I put it into rental real estate, and then that money pays me forever. Right,
yeah,
like a pile of money doesn't change my life forever. Right, so blessed. You hand me 50 grand, 100 grand. Right, it's a lot of money, but it doesn't change my life forever. But what does is a stream of income forever, right? And that's how you build generational wealth. So to me, yes, the power of working and making money is amazing, but then what you do with that money is what is so special.
oh yeah. I mean, at 13 years old, all I wanted to do was build a computer, right?
Yeah.
So, but as you get older, and then something that I started doing was like Amazon Prime. I started sending products into Amazon. So I'd create a product, like I had little door hangers,
Mhm.
and I would take those. I paid like 50 cents for them. I would send it into Amazon. They would ship them and everything. I sold them for $10. They took five. So on my 50 cents, I made 450. And I
Yeah.
was just like, holy cow! Like if I could just do this like with a couple products. So now you have Amazon going. Then I also had the machine shop going, all while I was doing my 9 to 5. And
Yeah.
you just see it like, wait a minute. So I could just get something, send it into Amazon, and it's not really, but it's very close to like passive income. Like you're doing one
Yep.
thing and it sits in there, and then you just got to make sure that you keep that flowing. And then it's it's awesome. I actually have two uncles. That's it, all they do, and they do really really well. And it's interesting like the amount of things you could do like that. And for
Oh
you,
no.
obviously, real estate is huge.
Real estate is huge, and now I'm in the education space, which
Yep.
is the next level of. I have a real estate sales course called the Illiterate Millionaire, and basically it's a digital product, and it basically goes into how I went from selling 3 houses to my friends and family to consistently selling over 200 homes a year, and how I built a multiple seven-figure real estate business. Um, and basically it's a digital product, right? We built the product, it's about 40 video modules, and it takes an agent step by step how to build and multiply a real estate sales business, right?
Mhm.
It's the blueprint to becoming a millionaire in real estate for any real estate agent, but that's very similar to the things that your uncles have done in the way Amazon works. I built a product, right? It cost us a
Yep.
lot to build it, but now it lives forever, and we're able to sell platforms and subscriptions to the platform.
Yeah, yeah. So there's always this big upfront cost, all the time, the effort. I've done plenty of things that have failed. I've done a couple things that have done good. um but yeah, I think all that upfront work is huge, for people, because a lot of people do something, they'll fail, right? And that's it. They give up, they're done, you know. But I think in doing those things and failing, I always find so much knowledge, right? Why did it fail? What went wrong?
Yep.
Could I have done something better? Could I have put more time into it? Could I have done it differently? And if you start breaking those things down, the next thing you put out may still fail, but maybe you did a little bit more in sales. Maybe it caught different people's eyes.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot that you could learn from failing, and a lot of people don't like to fail. I don't think anybody likes to fail, but
And listen, you're never going to get wealthy by working by trading time for money,
mhm.
right? The only way for you to really really become wealthy is when you can start having your money work for you.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
and I feel that everyone, even though I preach to everyone that they need to get into real estate, but we could all, like, you could all have a business. You just have to have a vehicle that helps you make money. And then when you take that money and put it into real estate or put it into other businesses, that's what works for you, right? So I just used the real estate sales business as my vehicle to create the money. And now I've taken that money and put it into my rental portfolio and multiple other businesses that spit capital to us every single month, quarter, and year.
Yeah.
Right. So, you don't have to become a real estate agent like me. You just have to master a business, become the best at the business, become so great at one thing that no one in the world can stop you. And then take the money that you make in that and put it into, rental real estate so you can build that passive income stream.
Yeah. So now I know we've talked about it just because I'm super curious. I want to start getting into the real estate game. So for somebody like myself who is working a 9 to 5, let's say doesn't have a side hustle, doesn't have a lot of money, what would you say would be a best path forward for them to try and build their rental portfolio, like kind of like just starting out?
I think the biggest thing that anyone can do, and any single man or woman can do this, is they need to find a deal. You find a deal and you come to me or you come to any other real estate investor, we will partner with you, right? Everyone thinks you need money, you need experience, right? You need resources, you need a network. You don't. If you understand a market, learn a market, and if you could find a deal, right? And bring it to somebody like myself or the other million real estate investors and developers out there, we will partner with you. You'll get immediately into our circle and get yourself a big piece of the deal. So I think that's what it is. But to be able to do that, you have to know the market inside and out, right? You have to be able to hunt and find a deal and lock it up and then bring it to me.
What do you think about wholesaling contracts?
Well, that's what it is, right?
Basically, right?
Basically what you do is you find a deal, you lock it down, you cannot close on it or have any interest in closing on it, and then you bring it to someone like myself or another real estate investor or developer and sell us the contract. And I don't it's called an assignment fee, and I don't care what your assignment fee is, right? I paid $100,000 assignment fee to a friend of mine, and he disclosed it, let me know, and I was fine with it because I still got that property 150 grand below market value. So to me, it was a win-win, right? I'm fine with him eating. Everyone's got to eat. He spent the time and effort to find the deal. The hardest thing is finding the deals, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So do you work with a lot of people like that, like a lot of wholesalers?
There's a lot of wholesalers because I buy rental real estate and multifamily real estate. So people know I'm always buying. And a lot of times they'll bring me some deals, and they may not have the capital to close on it, but they'll bring me in and they'll step aside, and I'll close on it and pay them an assignment fee. It's totally legitimate real estate. It's just them finding the transaction. Either they, right, spend money on marketing, their time is money, right? And they lock down a deal. So absolutely, all day long. To me, it's a great way to get into real estate and start building some capital.
Okay. Do you suggest that people get their real estate license? Like, so for me, like I'm looking to get into real estate. I want to get the rental house,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Do you suggest they become a real estate agent? Is there an advantage, a disadvantage to it?
Yes, I think every single real estate investor should get their real estate license without a doubt. It gives you access to right. Why I got into real estate was because I wanted access to the data, right?
Right.
So A, it gets you access. B, it allows you to start making some money, right? Because you look at a lot of the fix and flip investors, and you look at me. We have a similar path, right? And a good friend of mine is one of the biggest fix and flip investors in Long Island, New York, and his day-to-day business is finding distressed properties, fixing them up and selling them and making 50 grand, 30 grand, 70 grand, 100 grand. And then he takes all that money and puts it into rental real estate. You look at Bryan Karp's, retail business, which is selling houses for sellers, getting them the most effing money humanly possible and making little checks. And then I take all those little checks and I put them into rental real estate, right? So he just use the vehicle of flipping houses to buy rental real estate. I use the vehicle of selling houses to buy rental real estate. I'm telling everyone they should have some business that makes money to put into rental real estate. But the nice thing about being a real estate agent opposed to a real estate investor is tomorrow morning, if the real estate market in Long Island, New York dips 30%, a fix and flip investor is stuck with 20, 30 properties that now are upside down.
Yeah.
Bryan Karp, if the market dips 20%, yes, it's terrible, but I got to go to every one of my home sellers and said, the market has changed. We need to lower the price of your home, right? He's probably got a few $1,000,000 worth of real estate on the street. I just have a few $1,000,000 worth of my clients' houses that I have to advise them to either rent out, drop the price, or don't sell.
Mhm.
Right. So to me, it's an even better business than real estate investing to build income.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. So talking about the market, right? Where do you see the market right now? Right. So everything is crazy high. I mean, even where we're living, like the development I live in, when we first moved in, which was only in October, it was supposed to be a mid 300 price range, right? So they say starting at mid 300s. I just noticed a couple of weeks ago, they go, oh, now it's upper 300s, right? Same exact
Mhm.
houses. It's just the market. So like, what do you see going on in the market right now?
Well, but let's really unpack that. Why did this all happen? It's just inflation,
Yeah.
right? We lived in a 2-year time where the market got inflated and the dollar bill got inflated, right? And you can blame the government for this because if you think about in society prior to this crazy pandemic that we all just walked through, the amount of money was my hands, right? The government printed 40% more,
Mm.
right? So all they did is drop $4 trillion into the economy and inflated the dollar bill. They just made the money worthless.
Yep.
So basically, what happened was the only thing that is a hedge versus inflation is real estate. And that's why the people who own real estate got so much more wealthy. So if you look at me and my family's personal, wealth increased so much over the last 2 years for the sheer reason is we don't have any cash sitting in the bank, right? Cash is trash.
Yep.
All of our money is sitting in real estate. So when you look across, my portfolio, every house now is worth 50, 100 grand more
Mm.
because the government just inflated the dollar bill. So that's why the real estate market went up so much because real estate's the best hedge versus inflation. And then part two of your question is what's going on in the market is when you look at real estate markets, they run in 10 to 12-year cycles, right? 2008, blood in the streets. Bryan Karp walking around Long Island begging people to buy houses. From 2008 all the way to 2020, the market went up, right? And we were ready for our cycle to start dipping down. And then the pandemic hit. And basically the pandemic just put a little gasoline on a fire,
Mhm.
right? But what's the gasoline? Gasoline's an accelerant,
Yep.
and if you don't continue to put an accelerant on a fire, it's going to blow out. And that's what's basically happening. So I see here in Long Island that we have probably about another 6 months to a year of it being a good seller's market, just for the sheer fact of lack of inventory. There's just nothing on the market. So when I put something on, there's just nothing to buy. So when there's nothing to buy, people will pay a premium for garbage or overpriced product.
Mm.
But now that interest rates are rising, right, it's softening up the market. And once some more inventory comes on, such as the shadow foreclosures or the shadow, homes that have been sitting dormant because you've been unable to evict or foreclose in Long Island, New York, it's going to definitely soften the market. So I see a 6 month to 1 year before we really start seeing it settle down. But in markets like yours and Florida and Arizona and Texas, I actually think they have another 3 to 5 years to continue to increase
Wow.
because you have all the New Yorkers leaving
Oh yeah.
Long Island.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, so I guess if you're expecting that to kind of go up in the next 3 years, my next question was going to be, do you think it would be a bad time for somebody to invest? Right.
No, I don't ever think it's a bad time. There's always deals out there, right? So over the last 60 days, I've sold two of my rental houses. I sold them not because I'm getting out of rental real estate, right? I'm going to do it until the day I die, right? I did it because I want to sell them at the tippy top. I want to put my money on the sideline and I'm redeploying it into other assets, right? So I'll give you an example. I am I feel that education is the unfair advantage, right? And that's why I built I built the Illiterate Millionaire because I felt like if I could educate some more brokers and agents and help them get, 1, 2, 3, 5 more transactions a month, I could help their financial situation. But I'll tell you the unfair advantage that I'm doing is, I'm selling one of my rental properties, but I'm doing something called the 1031 exchange. So basically what a 1031 exchange is, it comes from the IRS tax code, but it allows you to sell a piece of rental real estate, take all of your gains and put it into another piece of rental real estate and pay no tax. Right. But now to take it to even the next level, right? The next level is I'm doing something called a reverse 1031 exchange with renovation. Now, don't think that Bryan Karp is this genius, right? I read on a fourth or fifth grade level, but I'm always educating myself.
Right.
So what ended up happening is this amazing off-market two-family property came across my desk, and I locked it down. And I need to close on that in 3 weeks, which I'm going to close on that with personal funds. And what I'm going to basically do is when my other rental house that I'm selling closes, I'm going to take all those funds. I'm going to reimburse myself legitimately, right? And then I'm going to pay no tax on the gains from the rental property that I'm selling. I was going to pay almost 100 grand in taxes, which I'm going to save because I'm doing a reverse 1031 exchange. To take it to even the next level, the property that I'm buying is only 350,000. The property I'm selling is over 600,000. So he's like, well, Bryan, what's going to happen with all that extra money? What I'm doing is I'm doing a reverse 1031 exchange with renovation. So now the IRS is going to allow me to renovate the property with all of the excess money. So now I've taken $600,000 from a single family home that was a rental that went up so much in value. I'm going to throw all of that capital into this amazing, right, multifamily property that has 3 different units to bring in income. I'm going to bring it up to the nines, going to get maximum rent, and I'm going to pay no tax on any of it, legitimately and legally. So to me, the unfair advantage is education. So everyone's got to continue to educate themselves in whatever space they're in.
So besides your course, right? What else would you suggest? I mean, there's so many podcasts, YouTube channels. Is there anything that
Mhm.
you would suggest that you find very helpful?
It's endless. When I'm 38 years old now, so I'm the old man. But when 20 years ago, when I started educating myself, I had to buy books, buy tapes, it was just when podcasts started to come out. Now the internet is flooded between YouTube and podcasts. You can get a full doctorate in anything you want to get yourself involved in.
What would you consider being, well, I guess we already kind of talked about being successful, right? Um, I don't know. It's always an interesting topic for me because, right? So a lot of people would consider me successful, right? Like
Mhm.
I have a really good 9 to 5. I have, a beautiful family. We're all healthy. We live in a nice house. So like for me, a lot of people see that as success, and I don't. I think that it's great, and I'm very blessed that I'm at where I'm at. Um, where would you see, or like, what do you consider success?
Yeah, well, it's perspective,
Yeah.
right? Perspective is the biggest thing. Why do my kids walk around this mansion that I live in? Right. And I say mansion, you come to the house, like, right, it's a nice house, but it's not a mansion. I say mansion because in my head it's a mansion.
Yep.
But my kids walk around this mansion, right? And my kids go out to dinner with Jessica and myself 3, 4 nights a week, and they just think that's normal. It's because that's what they grew up in.
Mm.
Right. So the perspective is the biggest thing, is that, if you could put a perspective on what you've come from or where you were, yes, this is all great and amazing. But I think everyone has a different, capacity to what successful is, right? And trust me, I have a problem. I have an addiction, right? I don't ever wish my kids to have what I have, right? I'm playing an infinite game, right? And what does that basically mean? I'm playing a game that has no finish line. You don't want to be playing a game that has no finish line, because a game that has no finish line, once you get to a certain level, you just move the finish line, right? So that's what's so dangerous about what I do, is because, okay, yeah, you sell 50 homes. Okay, move it to 100. Okay, you do 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, right? So, when you keep moving the finish line, it doesn't get you anywhere, right? I want to be at, 5% body fat. I want to be at 3% body fat, right? Like, so keep moving it forward. I want to have X number of dollars coming in monthly passive. 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand a month, right? So when you're playing an infinite game, it just keeps moving. What you really have to do is you really have to be happy with who you are in the mirror without any of those things, right? And you can't get your happiness from outward things. So, but I can't be, if I'm not happy with who Bryan Karp is, right, then it doesn't matter the shape I ever get into. If I'm not happy who Bryan Karp is financially, it doesn't matter how much money I make. So to me, success is something that you have to decide where it's at, before you go outward and try to, get bigger and better and more stuff.
It's more like self awareness.
Yeah.
Is huge. A lot of people just they don't have it. Like they don't know who they are. That's why they jump around. Like my mind works a lot different. Like I like to do like five, six, seven things at a time, and
Mhm.
I don't think I do them well, but I think for me it's a little bit different for the way my brain works, right? Like I can't focus on one thing. If I focus on one thing, I'm gonna get distracted, ADHD kicks
Yeah.
in. I can't do one thing. um but yeah, I think that, having that self-awareness to know like who you are, what you're good at, what your strengths are, how you learn, right? Like you said, I'm the same way. I hate reading. I don't read well. I did what was it called? ISL, or the second language program in
Yeah.
school. I forget what it's
Yeah.
called. And same thing. Like, so my reading comprehension is terrible. So I loved listening to podcasts. I watch YouTube.
Yep.
I listen to books. The same thing that you do. So I think having like that self awareness will help people in the long term really know what they're good at and um, what the best path forward for them would be.
And listen, society messes everyone up because society
Right.
teaches you or teaches our kids that you need to be really well rounded and you need to be really good at everything. But I totally don't believe that, right?
No.
I believe you need to be you need to be the best, right? You need to be legendary at one thing.
Mhm.
If you can be legendary at one thing, if you could be the best at one thing, then everything else comes all together, right? Like I can't read, I can't write. I'm actually pretty handy, but I'm not going to be, changing the toilet or mowing my lawn, right? Or, writing code for my computer. But why have I been mega successful in business and life? Because I'm the best at one thing: listing and selling homes in Long Island, New York, right?
Mhm.
You look at Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, just become legendary at one thing and everything else will come together.
Yep. Yeah, so that's actually something that I struggle with because I'm kind of like a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? Like
Yeah.
I love cryptocurrency. I got into mining. I love machining. I love computers. Like for me, my mind is all over the place because I love to learn, right?
Yeah.
So for me, learning is a lot of fun. I love to learn different things. Like I think my goal like in life is like not now, but it used to be like I want to do all the jobs. Like I want to experience everything. I want to see like I want to go build a bridge. I want to go, be a biochemist. I want to do this.
Mhm.
And I think for me one of the struggles is trying to find my one key thing. So would you have any tips for somebody, especially like myself, for trying to find that one thing?
I think it's looking at what you're good at, right?
Mm,
Double down on your skills and delegate everything else. So I think you have to look at what you're really good at, what you love, right? What comes easy to you, and what financially will bring income in at the highest level, right? Because then once you master that and have enough income coming in, then you could spend time doing things that don't make any money,
mhm.
right? I do things that don't make any money just because I like doing them, but I could do that because I have the business and the assets that allows me to do that,
Right.
right? So I think that it's really looking at, okay, all the things that you have, opportunities, there's endless opportunities, but what can you do? What can you be great at? And what could bring you income that will allow you to live the life of your dreams?
I like that. Um,
Talk to me about what's going on with the machining business. Where is it at? And how are you working time with your 9 to 5?
so luckily my 9 to 5 is 12-hour shifts. I work a 2-2-3 schedule, is rotating. So basically I'm on
Okay,
2 days, I'm off 2 days, I'm on 3 days, and then it flips. And I'm off 2 days, on two
that's
days,
cool.
off three, right? So I have a
I
ton
love
of
that.
time.
I
It's
love that.
great.
I
I
love
love
that. I
it.
love that.
when
Yeah.
I actually took this job, it was a little bit less money than I wanted, but I was like, I gain so much time that it's just, why wouldn't I even want to do this? Right? Like I don't have to travel 5 days a week. I work literally half the year, right? So I work out of 2 weeks, I only work 7 days. So that means I have a
Mhm.
full week that I could do whatever I want. 12-hour shifts
Yeah.
are, I love them because I'm always moving. So I'm used to working
Yeah.
16-hour days. Everybody's like, 12 hours, how
Yeah.
do you do that? I'm like,
Yeah. It's
easily.
nothing. It's
I
nothing.
come
It's
home and
nothing. It's
work after
nothing.
that.
Yeah. No, no. Trust me, 100%. I got more accomplished in my Monday than people do all week long,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
So for me, I'm learning so much about myself, right? So this is a huge learning experience for me. So I'm learning what I do and I don't like about certain things that I do, right? So I love machining, But the problem with me is I deal with so many different people on so many different projects, and the amount of time that I have to put in for the amount of money that I'm going to make almost isn't worth it. Right. So I'm coming to a huge realization that basically the way I want to kind of revamp what I'm doing is to actually sell products. Right. So I could have, so like right now we're doing jet ski parts for, we're drop shipping jet ski parts for a big company. And
What's jet ski parks? I'm sorry. Oh,
jet
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 ski
ski
parts.
parts, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so but that is a lot simpler, right? So you have a part, like, so you have a phone. I
Mhm.
go in, I make 20 phones, I put them on a shelf, I take them off the shelf, send them out, right? Pretty simple. Problem is you have machines, downtime, what broke, you have no bits, you're always running into issues, right? And since we're very small, it's always a constant issue. So I'm like, you know what? I got the product itself. It works, it sells. Why am I still making it? Right? It costs me more money to have somebody sitting there and run this machine than it would for me to take it and either A, send it to China, which I really don't like to do, or B, have somebody else do it, right? I take a, a cut and pay because now somebody else is doing it for more than it costs me because that's what
Yep.
they do. Um, but in that cost, I'm buying myself time. Right? So like my one of my biggest customers, when I moved, so basically he moved down to North Carolina and I was
Mhm.
shipping stuff to him, all his
Yep.
products. And before he left, I said, "Hey, I will drop ship stuff for you." And he goes, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. It's going to cut uh into my profit and whatever." I was like, "Listen, I'll do it for, $5 and to be honest with you, I'm going to lose money." I was like, "I'm
Mhm.
doing this because I don't want to lose you as a customer." But he's just like, "No, no, no, I don't wanna do it, I don't wanna do it, it's gonna cut in, it's gonna cut in." And in my head, I'm like, "If I drop ship your products, you literally bought all your time. You don't have to do anything. You just have to deal with
Yeah.
sales and then send them to me." I was like, if that was me on the other end, I'd be like, "Okay."
Right.
An
No
extra
brainer. It's a no
$5?
brainer.
Like, yeah, absolutely, no
Yeah.
problem.
100%.
So
What
I'm
was he
really
concerned about? He was concerned about what?
I think it was mainly the money, and then just not having control, right? Giving up control is really hard, and I have a hard time
Mhm.
with it too, right? I got somebody that's sitting in there running a machine. If something goes wrong, if they're not educated enough, I have to go in there, and it takes some more time of mine, and
Mhm.
so and then just it's frustrating because you want it to be done to a certain standard, which I think as a business operator, you have to understand that nobody's going to work at the skill level and with the drive that you have. Like I don't
100%.
I don't think you expect anybody to work at the level you work. That works for you.
No, I don't. And I always say to some of my partners in other businesses, they get disappointed because they say, we can't find anyone. You can't find anyone. I said, listen, not everyone's going to be an A plus player. You have to be okay with people being B minus, B plus players because, they're employees. They're not an entrepreneur. They're not driven
Yeah,
by this. They're going to go home and not think about the business, which is fine because they're not
that's
the
not
owner
them.
operator.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think I read a statistic that I think it's like they work. If you have an employee, they work about 60% of the time. Right,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's somewhere in that neighborhood, but, like, they're not gonna work all the time, like, that's not them, like, they're there for their paycheck, right? The same way I don't work 120% of my job. I do a
Yep.
great job, right? I do it
Yeah.
well, and I take great pride in what I do, but I'm not working at the level that I do on my side business,
Yeah.
because if I did that, they wouldn't know what to do with me.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. Because when I was in construction, I did enough. I did enough that the boss thought I was the best employee, but I wasn't going to work like it was my company, just because that's just what wasn't what. And they'd get upset and be like, "Brian, you got to slow down. You're making us all look bad, right? And you can't finish the job that quickly." So 100%. That's why that job wasn't for me, because I don't want to. I want to get compensated for what I could reap,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, I tell my wife this all the time. I was like, if they knew the availability of the things that I know and the way that I work, they'd pay me 2, 3 times what I'm making, but
Mhm.
they're not gonna pay me that much money. I don't what I do isn't that complicated, but the value that I would bring them is at that level, but it's a corporate job, and they're not gonna do that because everybody's there to make a paycheck, the same way I
Well,
am.
you know what I see, which is it bothers me is, and I've had in a bunch of different businesses, I have a lot of not even younger, but just people that will work a month or two or 6 months, and then they move on to something else, right? And it's because they have no patience,
Yep.
right? Like I wouldn't expect to master the game of real estate in 1 year, right? And as a young person, I had no problem taking these medial below me jobs to learn, right? To understand and to get the knowledge and give that person my time for almost free just to get ahead, and then one day leave and move myself forward. Where I see people coming into some of my other businesses, they're there 2 or 3 weeks and they're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it's not what you thought it was going to
It's
be,
work.
right? It's work,
Yep.
but grunt it out. You get into my network and you get to educate to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to what we were even talking about before. Like, you educating yourself is huge, right? And a lot of it. So for me, moving into a new place, right? I grew up on Long Island. I was there for 30. What was I? 32 years, and I created a network. And so I was never afraid to lose my job. I was like, I could make 3 phone calls and have 2 or 3 jobs, no
Yeah.
problem, right? Because I know this
Yep.
person, I know that, doing business with people. And when I came down here, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Right? Like, now
Yeah.
my 9 to 5 actually matters, right?
Yep.
And so I mean, we were talking about this beforehand. I was like, how can I network in a place that I know absolutely nobody? I know like the 3 or 4 guys that I'm working with, right?
Yep.
But they're not gonna get me any business value, right? They're guys working their 9 to 5s, making it by, putting their money into a 401k, and they're gonna retire one
Yep.
day with $1 million in their 401k and be super happy, right?
Yeah, they're going to be super happy if they live forever, right? My
Right.
goal has always been to be retired, when I'm a young man,
Mhm.
right? And so to me, like, just going back to me and you playing at a different pace, everyone's like, retirement's 55, 65. I'm like, no, 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 no. Retirement's like 37, 38, right? That's retirement, right?
Yep. So what's really funny is I started telling people, and this is to put a goal in my head and whatever. I hope it works. I'm hoping it does. Is I want to have the ability, which I think this is what you say. I want to have the ability to retire by the time I'm 45.
Mhm.
Right? I'm not going to do it the same way you're not going to do it.
Well, no, no. So like, so right, not to. I'm financially free, right? I
Yep.
never need to work a day in my life. But why was I up today at 4 a.m.? Right?
Because
It's
you want
because
to.
because I want to, right? Because when you get there, it doesn't matter. You love the game so much. That's why you have to find a game that you are obsessed with. So yeah, my goal was always to be financially free and retired by 40. I'm
Mhm.
38, right? I don't ever need to work. If we manage our portfolio property, are good stewards of our wealth, and don't live crazy above our means, I don't ever have to do anything. I could lay in bed all day long. But why am I hustling harder than everybody else?
Because you love it.
Because I effing love it.
Yep. That's it. I mean, literally the same thing with me. I started a podcast for God only knows what reason, but also to network. I was telling you before, I was up
What
until
episode? What episode am I?
5,
Okay.
4, 5, something like that. I don't know. I
Okay.
keep.
I'm very competitive. I hope that I get more views and listens than anyone else.
Well, that means you have to share it and have everybody else that share it, right?
Well, drop it and tag me, and I'll have my staff
That's
share the
right.
pants off of it. I don't like losing at anything.
So, oh my goodness, now I lost my train of thought.
Mhm.
Oh, so I started the podcast and I want to try and network, right? Like, that's huge. It's going to be a huge thing for me. But the same thing that you're saying, I was up last night. I had problems with the computers. Nothing was working the way I want. I was up until 12:30 last night trying to fix my computer. And then this morning, I have to wake up at, I didn't get up as early as you, but I was up at like 6 o'clock. My son was awake. I had to get up, take my son, bring him to school, get back, make sure everything's working for the podcast, get all
Yep.
that together, and as tough as it is, like waking up and going to bed late, waking up early to do something that's actually not going to bring me any money. I was
Nope.
talking to somebody the other day, and I'm like, I'm doing this podcast. I'm going to spend all this time doing this, and I was like, sure, I'm going to get in a network. I'm like, I don't get anything out of this, you
Well,
know?
what it is it's delayed gratification. It's planting
Absolutely.
seeds,
Yep.
right? And that's what it is. So like, big, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, we started really building a social media presence,
Hmm.
right? And really doing video, right? I was big into video 6, 7 years ago before anyone realized that video was going to take over the world, right? And and I was doing a lot of creating content and documenting, right? And if anybody listens to this and follows me on social media, it's Bryan Karp LI, on Instagram and same thing with Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok and all of those sites, and also Illiterate Millionaire. But I started doing it, spending money on video 5 or 6, 7 years ago, and everyone's like, "Brian, there's no ROI in that. You should be doing penny saver ads. You should be doing
Yep.
news commercials." I said, "No, no, no, no. It's a long game, right? And I'm building a library of content that will be out there forever." So it's the same thing with the podcast. If
Oh,
that if
absolutely.
that kind of if it goes full circle.
Yeah. No, I mean it's actually literally the same thing. I was like, maybe in a year, 2 years, 3 years, it may
Mm-hmm.
bring almost nothing to me, but it's also just kind of who I am as a person. Like I want to be able to help other people, right? So like another point of this podcast is I want other people to see people like yourself, and what they did, how they became successful. But I also want people to be able to come on. Like I spoke to a guy that he does like a prison ministry, right? So they go out and they help people in prisons and then try to get them on their feet and stuff like that. I'm like, I want people to see this. Like,
Yeah,
I want like people love to help out. People love to pour money into charities, to volunteer and stuff like that. I'm like, as business owners, it's the same thing. We want to be able to help people, right? A lot of people make money and then they will get rid of it because it brings them satisfaction helping other people out, right? So for me, I want to be able to have a a a community or a podcast, whatever you want to call it, to be able to show people both ends, right? So I want people that have businesses to see other businesses, but also to see other stuff that they can invest in and invest their time into.
absolutely. And everyone wants immediate gratification, right? I had a post I dropped on one of my stories a few months back, and I'm like, everyone is playing for the commission check, where I'm playing for the equity,
Yeah.
right? Everyone wants to be paid today, where I don't need to be paid today,
Hmm.
but give me the equity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I know you're a busy guy, so I'm gonna try and wrap it up.
Okay.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that one thing be?
Coming from nothing and making it into an empire,
Mm.
right? Come and then, because the real Bryan Karp book, right? The book that was written about me is an average construction worker. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's a humble job, right? And a great way to feed your family, but it's an average person. So the Bryan Karp book is an average person. That the book that was written about me, I'm writing the new book. So to me, I want to be known from someone who's rewritten the book that was written about him for life.
I like that. I like that a lot. Um, is there, so second to last question, is there
Mhm.
anything that you wish I would have asked you to kind of like help bring value to other people?
I don't think so. I think you did a great job. I think you crushed it for your fifth podcast. I just think the biggest thing is that there's nothing special about me, right? Like I'm actually less, uh, I have less of what it takes to become successful, and I did it. So I really just want to be also remembered for to basically to show people that if Bryan Karp, who reads on a third or fourth grade level, was able to build this business empire, this wealth, this success, then no one has an excuse.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. All right. And then you already kind of alluded to a little bit of this, but like where could people can find you? Is Brian Carp LI?
Yeah. So Bryan Karp, Bryan with a Y, Bryan Karp LI on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Website is, you just put Bryan Karp into Google. My gorgeous face is going to come up. Email is Bryan@soulbybryan.com. Bryan at Illiterate Millionaire. You search, you'll find me all over the internet. And if you find me, then I will retarget market you to buy one of my products.
Brian, thank you so much, man. I just so appreciate this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Keep me posted with everything going on where you are. I'm always rooting for you and cheering for you. So I'm only wishing the best.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and actually something I would actually like to tell people about you is
Mhm.
that I appreciate the way that you run your business, right? Like when we were selling our house with you, like it was always a phone call every couple days. Hey guys, how you do? And there was nothing happening. Like we were already in
Yep.
contract, we were already selling our house. It was, hey guys, how you doing? Anything you guys need, whatever. You always had our best interest. When I called you up to even talk about, I shot you a text and I was like, "Hey Brian, this is Chris. You saw my
Mhm.
house in Middle Island, blah blah blah." And 5 minutes later, you called me back and you're like, "Hey man, I remember you. What's going on? How you doing?" And to have that um care is incredible. And for somebody again that functions at your level, that's doing as much as you're doing, to actually take the time. So like I got that phone call. I was like, no way this guy's actually called me. you know?
Mhm.
And
Right.
and I know you say that you're nothing special or anything like that, but I think that you care and that you love what you do and you care about the people that you're doing it for. And I think it's
Thank
huge.
you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that gave me the chills. No, I appreciate that. But it's because I'm fucking genuine,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not playing for money.
Mhm.
I'm playing to because I love this. I love helping people. I have a gift that I know real estate better than anyone else in Long Island and New York. So I am everyone's highest advisor,
Mhm.
right? So to me, it's like so easy. Like this comes from my heart. And there's never when like and I do one-on-one coaching with people, and they come to me because I, and it's in the real estate and entrepreneurial space, right? And I'm like, guys, because all I care about is you. I'm not telling you to do something because I think it's a good business move for your business partner or your wife or your son or your
Mhm.
spouse. This just comes from my heart. I'm literally giving you advice because I love you and I don't care about the money. I'm not playing for the money.
Yep.
Yes, I have to get paid to live the life I do, but it just comes from my heart.
Yep. I remember you even asked us when I called you into our house and you're like, "Why are you selling your house?" That was like the first question you asked. You're like, "Why are you
Yeah.
selling your house?" And I was like,
Because I want to make sure it was the right move. All right.
"Yeah,
I'm not going to sell you. Listen, I could sell it, but I want to make sure that you understand what's going to happen next and what's the
yep."
long term game, right? Like, I want everyone, I'm looking for your long term best thing for you.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's something that a lot of people won't get. A lot of people are in your space just to make a dollar, and you're in there to actually help people, which is so so cool, man.
Yeah. Well, because everyone's playing for the commission check, and I'm playing for the equity because I'm playing for the relationship because that's what right because I'm blessed and I don't need the money anymore,
Yeah,
right? Or so even when I did need the money, I was still playing with this mindset, which is just a different mindset than everybody else.
right. Because that plays out tenfold long term, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, full disclosure, like you sold my uncle's house, which is who we
Yep.
found out about you from. Then you sold our house. Then we sent you
Your
to my
in-laws
in-laws,
house. Yep.
my parents, and then
Yep.
my brother and my sister and her husband, and it's like, hey, Bryan was an awesome guy. I love
Yeah.
the way he did everything, and everybody else has loved everything that you've done. So like, it's incredible what a little bit of care, how far that will go in people.
Yeah, no, no, it really is, right? And that's what's so special about it, right? You never know who you're going to meet. I can't even believe there's any more people with your guys' last name in Long Island, right? I can't
I
even
was gonna
believe
say
that.
there's not a lot of people there anymore.
There's I think I've sold all their houses and they're all leaving, right? Which means anyone should sell their house and get out of Long Island, right?
Yeah,
But it just shows you, right? And how like listen, you never know who you're going to bump into, who you're going to inspire, and that's what's so cool about the podcast. And then I really got to jump. I have a hard stop, but
yeah,
like you never really know who when you put stuff out there and you put good vibes and good energy and do the right thing, you never know who it's helping or where it's going to come back,
mhm,
right? Like this young man that I started to do one-on-one coaching with. He's like, Bri, I listened to you on this podcast and this show, and I watched you speak here. I never knew he was there.
yep,
And he's like, Bri, like you changed my life. And I'm like, well, what? Me? I'm just preaching what I think is good, right? Like
mhm.
this is just who I am. He's like, you changed my fucking life. I'm sorry if I can't curse in the
No, you're
podcast.
fine.
You'll edit it
Yeah, so I
out.
won't bleep it out.
Bleep it out. But it's just like you never know. So like putting all this good stuff out there, you never know when it comes back. And what comes back to me is him just saying, Bri, you changed my life, right?
Right,
And or
and
you saying, Bri, you remembered us and you really care.
yeah, and what's so cool about that is that's not what you're in it for, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not in there for the gratitude of somebody coming up and saying these things. You're doing it because that's
Yep.
who you are.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, go out there, kill it, and
I want.
again, I appreciate it so much that you took the time out to do this. It was really
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I was looking forward to it. Sorry it took so long to get on the calendar and had to be so early, but it
that's
worked
fine.
out. Worked out perfect. Let me know when it drops and
Sure,
tag me in all of it. We'll share the sugar off of it and see if we can get you some play out there. Right.
cool, man. Appreciate it, and I'll definitely be
All right.
you'll be hearing from me soon.
All right. Say hi to the missus for me. All right.
Will do, man.